It was supposed to be a routine flight, a journey thousands take every day, but on this particular day, a simple act aboard the aircraft would spark a chain of events no one could have anticipated. A passenger, seated quietly in business class, became the focus of an unexpected altercation. The air hostess, a seasoned professional, approached with a tray of freshly brewed coffee. Moments later, gasps filled the cabin. Coffee spilled across the man's face. A mistake, perhaps, but her reaction and the assumptions behind it would raise questions far beyond the walls of that airplane. Welcome to Dark Story Whispers, where we bring you stories that challenge perceptions and reveal truths often hidden in plain sight. Today, we recount an incident that started with an accident, but ended in a revelation that shocked an industry. This is the story of the air hostess, the passenger, and the secret that changed everything. The flight, bound for a bustling international hub, seemed uneventful at first. Passengers settled in, some focused on their devices, others flipping through magazines. But one passenger, a man of quiet demeanor, would soon become the center of an unexpected moment. The air hostess's actions, seemingly minor, took on a deeper significance when the true identity of the man came to light. Who was this passenger, and why did his What led to the air hostess's conduct, and how did the airline respond once the truth emerged? In this documentary, we follow the threads of this compelling story, piecing together the moments that transformed a routine flight into a headline-grabbing event. Prepare to question what you think you know about privilege, power, and perception in one of the world's most scrutinized industries. The airline was one of the most recognized names in the industry, known for its luxurious services and impeccable reputation. Its fleet carried millions of passengers each year, with a commitment to offering a seamless travel experience. Behind this success was a man whose story was just as remarkable as the airline he built. The owner, a self-made billionaire, had started his career far from the world of aviation. The owner had started his career at the height of the airline's power. He transformed a struggling regional airline into an international powerhouse. Despite his immense success, he was known for keeping a low profile. He often avoided the spotlight, preferring to experience his company's services just as any other passenger would. On this particular day, he decided to board one of his own flights, dressed in modest attire. He sat among the passengers, quietly observing the operations. He wasn't looking for attention. He wanted to understand the customer experience firsthand. But what happened next would highlight far more than just the airline's service. It would reveal an uncomfortable reality about human behavior and assumptions. The flight was preparing for takeoff. Cabin crew moved efficiently, assisting passengers with their luggage and offering warm greetings. The air hostess at the center of this story was a senior member of the crew, known for her confidence and attention to detail. She exuded authority in her role. As she moved through the cabin, her interactions with passengers varied. Some received a bright smile, others a more reserved nod. When she approached the man seated in business class, her expression shifted almost imperceptibly. He remained composed, returning a polite acknowledgement as she handed him a menu. The flight progressed smoothly. As she removed from view, a picture was taken of the man's face. The man seated by the window appeared to be engrossed in his book. The air hostess moved about the cabin with precision, occasionally casting a glance in his direction. It was a small moment, easy to overlook, but it hinted at something more. Then came the coffee service. She approached with a tray in hand, her movements deliberate. Passengers watched as she leaned forward, and in an instant, the accident occurred. Coffee splashed across the man's face. Gasps echoed through the cabin. Was it truly an accident? Or was there something beneath the surface waiting to be uncovered? The answer lay in the moments that followed. The coffee was steaming, the air hostess balancing the tray with practiced precision. She approached the passenger in business class, the man seated quietly by the window. As she leaned in to serve, the tray tilted. Perhaps a slight miscalculation or an unsteady hand. What followed was instantaneous. The dark liquid splashed across the man's face and chest, scalding hot and unmistakably shocking. The cabin fell silent. Passengers turned to witness the scene unfolding before them. The man recoiled slightly, his composure shaken but intact. His hand reached instinctively for a napkin as the liquid soaked his shirt. The air hostess froze for a moment, her face a mixture of shock and something else, an expression difficult to read. Her apology was immediate but brief. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice sharp and clipped. She retrieved a towel and handed it to him, avoiding eye contact as she muttered something under her breath. For a professional trained to handle high-pressure situations, her reaction seemed oddly detached. As the man dabbed at his face and shirt, his gaze remained calm, almost too calm. It was a moment of silence that seemed to stretch endlessly, the tension in the cabin merely amplified. Around them, whispers began to circulate. Some passengers seemed sympathetic, others curious. But the question hung heavily in the air. Was this truly an accident, or had something deeper been at play? What led to this moment? Was it a simple lapse in concentration, or did the air hostess's behavior suggest something more? Consider her reaction. Was it just embarrassment, or was there hesitation that spoke volumes? And what about the man? His response was calm, almost unnervingly so. Was it the poise of someone accustomed to such incidents, or did he already know something the rest of the cabin didn't? As passengers continued to exchange glances, the air hostess hurried back to the galley, her movements quick and almost frantic. What was she thinking in that moment? Regret? Anxiety? Or perhaps fear? And then there was the man. Who was he really, and why did his silence carry so much weight? These are the questions that began to ripple through the cabin as the flight continued, questions that would soon unravel a truth no one saw coming. The aftermath of the incident left questions lingering in the minds of those on board, but the story behind that spilled coffee reached far beyond the confines of the aircraft. To understand what happened, we must look deeper into the lives of those involved. The air hostess, a seasoned professional with years of experience, was known among her peers for her sharp attention to detail and a no-nonsense attitude. Colleagues described her as efficient and dedicated, but also as someone who occasionally exhibited impatience under stress. Was this simply a case of human error, or was there a deeper bias influencing her behavior? Then there was the man at the center of it all, quiet, unassuming, and seemingly out of place among the polished business-class crowd. At first glance, he might have appeared to be an ordinary traveler, but a closer look revealed a remarkable story. A man whose path to success was paved with resilience and ingenuity. He was not just any passenger, he was the owner of the airline itself. Interviews with his associates painted a picture of a man who valued humility and discretion. He often traveled anonymously, preferring to observe his company's operations as a regular customer. But why had he chosen this particular flight? And why, on this day, did his presence seem to unnerve the air hostess. Industry experts weighed in, discussing the pressures faced by flight crews and the biases, both conscious and unconscious, that can surface in high-stress environments. Or was it simply a series of unfortunate coincidences? Company policy was clear: professionalism and equality were non-negotiable. Yet, in a world where perceptions can dictate actions, the gap between policy and practice often becomes apparent. This incident would soon force the airline to confront uncomfortable truths about its culture, training, and the assumptions that can influence even the smallest interactions. How much do we allow appearances to shape our actions? If you were in the air hostess's position, would you have reacted differently? Imagine being the man in business class. How would you feel knowing your identity was hidden and witnessing how differently people treated you based on what they assumed? These moments force us to confront difficult questions. What role does bias play in our daily interactions? How often do we make snap judgments, even unconsciously? As this story unfolds, we are left to consider not only the actions of those on board, but also the broader societal norms that influence how we see and treat one another. The spilled coffee may have been the spark, but the flames of this incident would expose far more than a single moment on a flight. The rest of the flight carried on in uneasy silence. The air hostess avoided the man as much as possible, busying herself with other passengers and duties. But the tension in the cabin lingered, an unspoken undercurrent that no one dared to address. It wasn't until the plane landed that the truth began to emerge. As the passengers disembarked, the man remained seated, calm and composed, waiting for the cabin to clear. The air hostess, still shaken from the earlier incident, approached hesitantly, ready to offer another apology. But then, something unexpected happened. A member of the airline's ground staff entered the cabin, their face lighting up with recognition. They addressed the man with a warm smile and a respectful tone that instantly changed the atmosphere. "Sir, it's an honor to see you again. How was the flight?" The air hostess froze, her expression shifting as the weight of those words sank in. She glanced back at the passenger, now understanding who he was. Her eyes widened, and her breath caught. This wasn't just any passenger. This was the owner of the airline, the man who signed the paychecks, the person ultimately responsible for every decision the company made. Whispers spread among the remaining crew. Some exchanged uneasy glances, while others seemed frozen in place. The man stood slowly, smoothing his coffee-stained shirt. He turned to the air hostess, his gaze steady but unreadable. "Thank you for the service today," he said evenly, his tone giving nothing away. And with that, he exited the cabin, leaving behind a crew that was now grappling with the reality of what had just transpired. The air hostess remained rooted to the spot, her face a mixture of disbelief and something else, an unspoken question of what this encounter might mean for her future. This moment carried lessons far beyond the walls of the airplane. How quickly we judge based on appearances, making assumptions about people's worth or status without truly knowing their story. For the air hostess, this was not just a professional misstep. It was a reminder of the importance of treating every individual with respect, regardless of their outward image. For the passengers who witnessed the event, it was a moment to reflect on how easily biases can creep into our everyday interactions. What does this incident teach us about power and humility? The man, despite his position, chose not to reveal his identity until it was naturally discovered. His actions were calm, his demeanor measured, but his silence spoke volumes. As the story spread, It sparked conversations about how companies train their staff, how individuals carry their biases, and how society at large defines respect and equality. What would you do if you were in the air hostess's position? And what does this story say about the way we treat those around us, regardless of who they might be? The story of the air hostess and the unassuming passenger began with an accident, an unexpected spill of coffee. But what unfolded next revealed a deeper narrative, one of human behavior, assumptions, and the powerful lessons that can come from a single interaction. The air hostess's reaction, the man's quiet composure, and the eventual revelation of his identity highlighted the contrast between perception and reality. For those who witnessed the moment, it was a humbling reminder of the importance of treating everyone with dignity, regardless of their outward appearance. For the airline, it was a wake-up call to address not only customer service, but also the biases that can influence everyday decisions. This wasn't just a story about a mistake on a flight. It was a story about the way we see one another, the judgments we make, and the impact those judgments can have. Now it's your turn to reflect. How would you have reacted if you were in the air hostess's position? And how might you have handled things if you were the passenger? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your opinions in the comments below. And what lessons do you think can be learned from this incident? Don't forget to subscribe to inspire conversation for more stories that uncover the complexities of human behavior and challenge the way we think about the world around us. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest documentaries, and let's continue this conversation together. In the end, this story isn't just about spilled coffee. It's about the small, everyday moments that define who we are and how we treat others. As we leave you with this story, remember, respect is a choice we make, not based on status or appearance, but on our shared humanity. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Stay curious, stay kind, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to hit the subscribe notification